Today on the table I have the Winchester Model 12. Now if you're looking for an older shotgun, this particular shotgun has a lot of advantages. Over the 97, it's also got an advantage because see this little tube extension right there? That's not on the 97. So like say when you were going to take apart a 97, if you want a breakdown model, this magazine tube would not be captured. It would just be sitting there flopping around. So me personally, the 97 just is an impractical breakdown model. This improvement was absolutely necessary. And it's kind of cool having a shotgun that breaks down like that. And then after you put it back together, you got your cross pin, push it back to the other side, make sure your arrows are lined up. This particular shotgun does have matching serial numbers on the front half and the back half. That is something you're also going to want to check for because, I mean, these are old enough to where, okay, I got a broken receiver and this other shotgun has a broken barrel, so I'll put the two shotguns together, boom, working shotgun. Now the Model 12 is special over other shotguns. What this can do, it's called slam fire, and it's not technically slam firing, the hammer's actually timed. But listen, as I come forward with the pump, right there the hammer dropped. This particular shotgun would actually technically be called slam firing. The hammer is going to follow a bolt forward. So basically, dead trigger. The round never went off because the hammer's following the bolt, so it never has enough momentum to detonate the primer. I believe this was the transition from slam firing to what we have today. Now the next style, the bolt goes forward, and then you can drop the hammer. So for me, I would either want it like the Remington, where I don't have a dead trigger, or I want it to slam fire. Personally, I want it to slam fire. Now this particular shotgun is in terrible shape. Whoever owned this did not take care of it at all. It's completely shot. Honestly, if this was a 12 gauge, this is actually a 16 gauge, I would buy this myself and this would become my Model 12 trench gun. Now that's probably where you're freaking out in the comments like, oh, why don't you just buy an actual trench gun and that. To be honest, to buy a legitimate trench gun, there is so much misinformation. They didn't keep records on it. I'm assuming that's because the Germans were freaking out about it. Side note, if you're going to try to get into early combat shotguns, I strongly recommend getting some sort of anxiety medication or possibly some antidepressants, because like I said, there's so much information out there and most of it's not even correct. And the stuff that is mostly correct, there's always exceptions to it because of the poor record keeping, the fact that they took donation shotguns and converted those to shotguns, actual firm ground you can stand on like, yes, I know for sure this is correct, you'll find an exception almost every single time. Aside from the fact that any factory-made trench gun in World War II is a takedown model, there's literally like nothing at all. Like every time I find something like, oh, okay, that's what they did, I'll find an exception. So for real, medication first, research second. Like as far as I know, there's even no known picture of a trench gun held in World War I. And then they were supposed to stop at a certain time, but yet you can find pictures of them having trench guns in Vietnam. So the actual information out there to verify a trench gun is basically non-existent. The information that's actually called credible to verify an actual service trench gun, all that is a bunch of people taking surveys. Just general serial number ranges. And for every what they call a concrete piece of information, there's always exceptions. The problem is, in World War II, they took donations from civilians and they converted them to trench guns. So you may have a trench gun that's not in the serial number range, violates all the rules that would say it's a trench gun, and in fact, it was in service. So myself, the only way I would spend anything at all, even closely remote to trench gun price, is if an auction house backed it. Now that doesn't mean it is in fact a trench gun. because you can still forge them. But if you have an auction house backing it saying, yes, that is a trench gun, factory made, then you are more likely to have a value assigned to it. Aside from an auction house backing it, like Rock Island Auction House or something like that, don't spend any type of money on a trench gun. Make your own. Because you just don't know. The only rules that are pretty firm, they do have some exceptions, but they're pretty firm, is all World War I trench guns were non-takedown models. Or no, all World War I trench guns, some of them were takedown models, some of them weren't. All World War II trench gun models are completely takedowns, because when they took over the Winchester factory to put shotguns in there, because basically the combat shotgun for a long time was just a gap stop, they had quit making solid frame models, so they were all takedown models as of World War II. That's the only thing that's semi-solid, and then your basic serial number ranges. The World War I trench guns, there's even some that are known for a fact that they were a trench gun, and they will have hunting scenery carved in it, because they just started grabbing shotguns off the shelf, converting them to trench guns. So like I said, unless you have an auction house backing your trench gun, don't spend a lot of money. Make your own. So that's why if this was a 12 gauge, because it's in such terrible shape, would just make it into a trench gun. This barrel's pretty much shot above this point. But anyway, if you are looking at a Winchester Model 12, obviously there are some rarer models, like 16 gauge, less desirable shotgun shell, or less desirable gauges. Those will hold a little bit higher of a value. But really, I mean, just grab what you want. This one's still pretty cool because it's got the original butt plate, which says Winchester repeating arms. And just the age of it looks awesome. You can't really get this kind of feel of history. I guess that's what I'm looking for. Like you can with like a newer Mossberg or something. And these come in at very affordable prices. Even if you wanted a 16 gauge, you can jump on Gunbroker and pick these up for like $350. You go to like a 12 gauge, much cheaper. And the craftsmanship involved in these older ones is really nice. Like, this is all a machined out receiver. It's steel. What did they call it? Nickel steel. And the fact that it takes down, again, like if you want a takedown model, don't get the one where your barrel extension ends right here, because it's just cumbersome and it kind of sucks. And then go over your wood. Look for defects. Like this particular one's got a nasty crack to the stock right there, so you have to pull this apart and fix it. But the rest of the shotgun looks fine, and it functions properly. It feeds shells, the firing pin works, it's shooter ready. But yeah, sorry this wasn't like a historical film if that's what you were clicking on here for, but we just got this shotgun in and I thought I would do a little show and tell. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Now I want to give a special thanks to that nice gentleman that's selling me the historical books, which is actually really, really special. Because of the way the internet works and they really don't do book printing anymore, and the fact that these guys are most likely dead and gone, but it's books written by the actual people that did the surveys on the trench guns, so I'll have the best possible credible information. And I guess even through that whole book, they keep hammering the point. There's no rules of thumbs because the donations, the poor record keeping. But I'm going to go through both books and then try to put together almost like a buyer's guide of the combat shotgun for you guys. This way there's actually something on record. And again, thank you. Like, that's really, really awesome. I would have had no way of getting my hands on this information without you. So again, thank you.